And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And we've arrived at a very special location. It's in fact a medieval gatehouse which has an 18th century windmill tower actually built into it. Many people have postulated as to why a windmill tower is built into a medieval gatehouse, and the simple explanation is we're at St Benet's Abbey, which is on the marshes on the Norfolk Broads, and we're just short of the River Bure, and of course the surrounding water would have made the ground very marshy. But where they built and constructed this gatehouse, it would have been put onto stable ground, hence the reason they built the windmill into the actual gatehouse. Of course, the windmill is long out of service, it's just an empty shell, but this site has an amazing reputation for hauntings. Rather than for me to drone on about the history of this site and its spooky associations, here is a piece that I shot 2 years ago which explains and covers all those points in detail. Now, for many of you that may not be acquainted with this part of the world, this particular area is famous for its boating facilities. There are many, many canals which interconnect with each other and form part of a matrix which is known as the Norfolk Broads. And in this particular case, where I'm standing, you can quite often see sailing boats quietly gliding past on their way up and down the river or heading into the many myriad of canals that connect to this particular area. The reason that these canals exist is down to our medieval forebears who excavated peat from this area. Once the peat was dug, the water obviously infilled into these empty channels, and gradually over the centuries they form part of an intricate set of waterways, which today is much used by birdies, people that come here to admire the wildlife which exists here, because it is, relatively speaking, unspoilt. The gatehouse that I'm standing in is particularly unusual. I believe it dates from the 14th century, but it's completely encompassed by an 18th century windmill tower made of red brick. One may speculate, why have we got an 18th century tower built into part of a medieval gatehouse? Well, before I can answer those questions, we need to travel back into the distant past. And this particular site was first settled by monks, either in the 7th century or the 9th century. It's a bone of contention amongst many academics as to when these people first arrived and why the site was chosen. I would like to think that the reason they settled here was certainly for the peace and quiet, but also the easy access that this site affords anybody travelling to and from the site. If one goes back into the medieval period, roadways were less common than they are today, and travelling anywhere was an absolute burden. But of course, with a river and a bank very close to where you're actually working and living is an absolute boon, and particularly for trade, and also in the event of the site being attacked perhaps by rogue barons or brigands travelling up the river by boat to lay siege to this particular location. And certainly I believe in 960 the abbey was attacked by King Canute, who burnt the buildings to the ground. One can only assume at that period of history they were mostly of wooden construction. Canute obviously felt bad by his actions and decided to rebuild the abbey dedicated to St Benedict. And as a result of which the monks were spared, and Canute went on his way, and the abbey continued to thrive and exist here, and expanded to cover 98 acres of land during its time. Let's cast the time clock forward to the time of the invasion by William the Conqueror from France. He arrived here shortly after the invasion to discover this monastery, but he could not penetrate its walls. The monks refused to surrender. There was a curtain wall which extended the entire area of the site. It was absolutely immense. It was vast. One can only speculate that the monks must have acquired a tremendous wealth over those centuries. The monks were parleyed by William the Conqueror and asked to surrender. They refused to do so, and so the Normans laid siege to this particular abbey. And as a result, there was a monk, a man by the name of Veritas, who secretly made an arrangement with William the Conqueror to allow them to be able to get into the site area without having to use military force. But the condition of which he asked was that he would be declared the abbot of this particular order and that the monks would be spared. These conditions were readily agreed to by William the Conqueror, and so they took this particular site from the monks. And when, of course, Veritas, the traitor, asked whether or not William was still prepared to stand by his word, and William agreed that he would be the abbot of this particular order. But that only lasted for perhaps a few minutes before he was dragged off, and unceremoniously he was hung, drawn and quartered. As a warning, perhaps. I suppose when one looks at things historically, nobody likes traitors, even though the traitors themselves may be particularly useful. Obviously, Veritas wasn't a man who could be trusted, and so William decided to be off with him. The monks here continued to practice all the way through to the dissolution of the monasteries by King Henry VIII. But what was unusual, and very unusual, in fact, unique, he made no order against the monks here. They were allowed to continue as they were. But of course, within a few short years, the monastery was abandoned by the monks, and the site, its land and buildings, was handed over into the charge and care of the Bishop of Norwich. Obviously, at that period of history, the Protestants had no use for a former Catholic site, and one can only assume that the reason the monks left here was that they were not allowed to practice their Catholic rituals. And so, because there was no use for this site, it was allowed to fall into abandonment. In fact, the original church, which once stood across the field, which is still marked by the presence of a cross on the site of the altar, was actually taken apart by the locals, and part of the stone was used to build a manor house, and the rest of it was used to restore the local church here. And no doubt other stone had disappeared further afield, but over a period of time, the entire site had disappeared, apart from the gatehouse. I can say that by the 17th century, the gatehouse existed more or less complete with the top floor and lower floor. But by the time this windmill here was built in the 18th century, the upper floor had completely disappeared. And I think that what had happened, when they actually constructed the windmill, they decided that the top level of the floor of the gatehouse was an encumbrance to the design of the building, and it was taken down. The windmill apparently continued here well into the 19th century before it was abandoned, and all that's left of this relic is the actual tower. And there are still prints in existence, and you can see from here that gives you an impression of what the windmill looked like when it was in use. But what an unusual location to build a windmill. And so when they built this tower in the 18th century, they intended to let in as much light as possible, but weren't able to pay the window tax. So the shape of the windows still exists, but of course they're bricked up. And of course, during its period of its lifetime, they obviously decided there was no need to open these windows, even after the tax was abandoned, and eventually, of course, the windmill was abandoned. And if you wander around the particular ruin here, you actually find remnants of graffiti which were placed here over periods of history dating from the 18th century all the way through to the present day. And some of the stone columns are absolutely immersed in graffiti. I am a person of two schools of thought about graffiti. Is graffiti a good thing? Well, obviously not if it's desecrating an original building. But from a historical perspective, graffiti is a good way for us to determine in modern day times social trends during those periods of history when the people left their mark on those stones. So today, the graffiti itself gives historical reference to a lot of things which took place over those periods. The site today is maintained by the Norfolk Archaeological Trust, and it's open 24 hours a day for people to come and visit. Part of the land upon which the original church was built is actually in the middle of cow pasture, so if one comes here, one has to be a little bit careful where they wander for the cow pats. I found my visit here today to be absolutely amazing, to actually see this windmill built inside an original medieval gatehouse is quite unique and quite unheard of. But the two seem to work quite well together, and in a way the brickwork which was created here in the 18th century has helped to protect and preserve the brickwork of the medieval gateway. It's believed that this gateway is haunted by the spirit of Veritas, the traitorous monk. The unfortunate part that I had in my research, there's also reference to another monk who was the alleged betrayer. His name was Esric, but from documents that I've examined, I think that Veritas is probably the monk's name, the guy who offended William so blandly by being a traitor to this particular order. It is claimed that on the anniversary of his death, which was on the 2nd of April, that loud screams can be heard coming from the tower itself, and that witnesses have seen ghostly shades, ghostly forms of monks inside the tower, as a beam is thrust out and then a form which is believed to be Veritas is seen to be hanging from the beam. And this spectre has been seen on a number of occasions across the centuries, and more recently in the 1920s, a captain on one of the boats that frequent this particular part of the River Bure was actually moored up with his crew when they actually saw this spectral visitation appear inside this particular tower. And the whole story unfolded before their very eyes as they saw the monk being taken and being hung from a beam. This was recorded and passed down over the years along many other tales of people that too have experienced these spectral forms inside this tower. Now, will we be able tonight perhaps to be able to pick up any of this activity, or is it just largely an apocryphal story that's been passed down over the years and of course has no relevance to what had happened here all those centuries ago with the traitorous monk Veritas? But this is something we will find out tonight. There's also a tale from the nearby village of Ludham of the form of a monstrous creature that's been seen roaming across the countryside, causing damage and desecration, and it was believed that this monster hid in a den behind a pub by the name of the Carpenters. Apparently, since the drainage of the marshes had been improved over the years, this particular monstrous form has not been seen since. I think, again, that's probably part legend. If you stand inside this tower and look up on one side, there is a carving, what could appear to be maybe a lion en passant standing up like this, or it could also be that of a dragon. But again, we will never know. The damage which has been caused inside the tower, and particularly so to the remains of the original gatehouse, are quite extensive. And so all we have today is largely a collection of anecdotes which has been passed down to us to be shared. And tonight, with my two friends, Eddie and Pat, we're hoping to interrogate the haunted happenings that have occurred here, and particularly in relationship to whatever we capture on the ghost box, and also standing here silently in darkness to see what we can elicit from this particular space. It is worth mentioning that when we were last here, we actually picked up EVP outside of the ghost box, so there's very definitely a strong presence here, and I can feel this at the moment as I'm talking to you. And here is a clip taken from our last investigation, which illustrates that point so perfectly well. Are there any Protestants, any Catholics?
There ain't nothing.
There ain't nothing. Anyway, without much further ado, let me introduce my two friends to you again, and we'll start with Eddie tonight. If you'd like to step over, please, Eddie.
Yep.
We're back at St Benet's Abbey, and we were here, what, 2 years ago?
It'd be good that, wouldn't it?
And we picked up some incredible activity
some
here.
Interesting stuff, wasn't it?
What's your reminiscences of that particular occasion?
Very windy, much as tonight.
And cold.
Yeah, trying to actually set the recorder up to record anything, and as soon as I actually recorded, I got back home, listened to it. Ugh, yuck. So windy, couldn't hear a thing, so I was recording outside, pointing to the gatehouse. But unfortunately, nothing. The one thing that did happen when I was singing, I got the voices, EVPs coming back.
I remember you sang here last time, yeah.
Yeah.
And you sang earlier, I heard.
Yeah, just
as
to
I was
see
filming
on
outside.
the recorder. Yeah, just to see if I got anything tonight.
Well, let's hope that tonight it's going to be a special one. And I certainly hope so, because we're out in the middle of nowhere, literally.
Literally.
And
On the Broads.
it's just an impressive sight. It's just a pity that only today, part of the gatehouse and part of the windmill, it still stands, because everything else is gone. When it was dissolved, it wasn't officially dissolved, it was handed over as an estate to the Bishop of Norwich, but he had no use for it. And within a space of a few years, the great church that used to stand on this site had completely disappeared,
And
along with the curtain walls and the surrounding buildings.
Beautiful, wasn't it?
Oh, it was absolutely gorgeous.
I mean, so can you imagine walking through there and see that standing now?
In the middle of the marshes.
Oh God, yeah.
And to think this started off as a hermitage for a few monks, attracted the attention of King Canute.
Yeah.
King Canute decided to sponsor them and support them. And this great abbey rose from the marshes, literally. What an amazing sight it would have been. But today we're just left with a few remnants and relics. And of course it's those remnants and relics that develop the most interesting activity.
Yeah, it's just so amazing, the place. I just love to see a windmill, and then with the medieval gatehouse stuck right in the middle of it.
Oh, absolutely.
It's unique.
Yeah, totally unique.
Nothing like it in the world.
No, you can't touch it.
I don't think.
And this is what we look for. We look for interesting locations to film in and to be able to share not only the paranormal activity but the history associated with these wonderful locations.
You can't hope.
Anyway, we're going to crack on. We're going to have a...
Get me name mentioned
Well,
again.
you never know. You might... Oh, yeah. I hasten to add, when we were at Baconsfield Castle, Eddie's name was mentioned about 100 times.
Quite a few
and also
times.
Pat's name was too, but
Yeah,
me
and the
not,
cats.
so... But let's hope for tonight. I'll just bring over Pat and... We're going to have a really good investigation here.
Hello.
Hello, Pat.
Hello.
Fancy seeing you here. Okay, what do you think of this place? You've never been here before,
No,
it's
it's
St
my
Benet's
first
Abbey.
time. Yeah, it's beautiful. I love it. I love the history. It's got amazing history. King Canute, the Vikings,
Oh yes, it's
William
all
the
here.
Conqueror.
Yeah, it's all
Yeah,
here.
it's all here. I'm really looking forward to this evening. But I think you should have your name called out tonight.
Oh, well, we'll see
It's
how
your
it
turn.
goes. Any impressions that you picked up here since you've been here?
Outside, I feel like there was a mist. I could see a mist.
That could be a marsh mist coming off
No, it was
from
just,
water.
just in that little one spot. Just
Oh, in one
little-
spot.
Yeah,
Okay.
there was a mist.
So, are you
outside.
up for tonight's investigation?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
So we're going to set up our equipment initially to do a proper night shoot with no lights, just operating from the infrared on the camcorders to see whether or not we can draw anything through. And then following on from there, we're going to have a ghost box session and hopefully we can pick up more activity. But I'm really excited about
Yeah.
this.
Can't wait.
Well, thank you very much for coming along, Pat. And of course, thank you to Eddie.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're now in total darkness inside the core base of the ancient windmill, and what we're going to do now is a short session just using the night cam, no ghost box, no other devices, in the hope that we can elicit some kind of spiritual activity. And just recalling back again to the last time we were here, we quite audibly heard over the ghost box audio a male voice talking to us, and he didn't sound particularly pleased with our appearance there. So perhaps tonight he will make an appearance during this session. But as always, our fingers are crossed and we will continue with our investigation. I come here in love, light and peace. I mean you no harm or offence. All I wish to do is make peaceful and friendly contact with you. I can feel presence in here now. I can feel an energy field here. It's quite strong. I know that there is somebody here with me at the moment. In fact, I think there's more than one person in spirit. I just wonder perhaps whether you would wish to say something. My name is Chris, and with me is Eddie and Pat. You want to say hello, guys?
Hello.
Hello.
And we all have come here with peace in our hearts. We haven't come here to cause damage here. We haven't come here to cause a disruption. We just wish to make a friendly and positive level of contact with you on the spiritual plane. I'm going to stand here silently just for a minute or so, and hopefully somebody will communicate with us.
Did you hear the footsteps?
Yeah.
That was me.
No, I can hear something now.
I just adjusted my feet. Please don't be shy.
No, on the lens.
I'm not seeing any light entities that occasionally I see when I stand in total darkness, but it'll probably take a few more minutes yet before I can focus in on that. But it certainly feels very creepy in here. Has anyone got any thoughts or impressions?
It just feels like there's a cold breeze, like someone's just gone past. Now that cold breeze has gone.
Yeah, it's not much of a breeze at all.
No, it's like somebody was... Now that cold breeze has gone.
Yeah, it's not much of a breeze at all.
No, it's like somebody was... Hang on, there's someone coming, isn't it? What's that lights?
What lights?
There's lights over there.
Oh, that's a boat that's moored out there.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I thought there was somebody coming with a torch or something. I can see the light again.
There was somebody with a torch.
Yeah, it was somebody with a torch.
Yeah,
It's
someone
okay.
with a torch.
Yeah. Well, it felt like somebody was walking. Me and Eddie heard footsteps.
Well, might have been footsteps.
Yeah.
Might have been people walking then. Might be creeping up on us to see what we're doing.
No, it was actually walking in here. Wasn't it? It was like somebody was walking in here.
Right, I've got the full night light on, and I'm going to walk towards the entrance. I'm going to stand here and I'm going to film you guys from here.
Somebody up on the torch. Shining in. Chris,
Yeah, they're looking at the reading the board.
Oh, right, somebody coming.
Yeah, there's somebody there.
You just go.
That was Pat.
That was
Yeah.
me just saying that.
I just want to go creep across and get an angle shot of Eddie filming.
Okay.
I'll just make sure I don't walk into you. Eddie, you talk.
Could you let us know you're here, please?
Make sure you don't put that light across to mine, otherwise we get white out.
Try and say anything that you possibly can, please. Did you enjoy working here? What did you do here?
Listen to that wind.
I know. What was your name? You know our names. What is your name? Let us know anything that you possibly can. So we'd love to hear your history. Did you pray here? Did you work at the mill? I'd love to know anything you can possibly tell us about yourself. Come forward, don't be afraid.
It's my stomach.
Tell me, is it? I think I'll ask.
Do it to me.
Yeah.
Oh.
Did you pray here? Did you know anybody that was hung here? Did you watch us here this afternoon? Do you enjoy people coming here? Since your time, you must have seen a lot of different fashions of clothes, different clothes changes of the people. Has that been of interest to you?
Can you tell us your name?
There's a tag.
Yeah, I just had a tap there as well.
No, that was my leather and my coat.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Can you show us an orb? We know you can do that.
I think that was a bad.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah, I
flat,
just
wasn't
heard
it?
that noise.
Mhm.
Can you show yourself as an orb? Did you like Eddie's singing? Did you capture that on video, Chris, the singing?
No, I don't think I did. No.
When Eddie was singing earlier.
He was, yeah.
Yeah.
It was when I was setting up equipment, so
Yeah.
I didn't have anything running.
We thought the lady might like that, Eddie singing.
What about children?
I haven't felt like there was any children here. Are there any children here? Any monks? Vikings? Can you make a noise or a sound? If you're here, can you give us a little tap? I hope you're going to come through on the ghost box later.
I heard a sigh,
Oh, did you?
very faint sigh,
Yeah.
like that.
Oh.
But fainter than that.
Did it sound like a man or a lady?
Sounded like a man,
A
actually.
man.
Mm.
Can you do that sigh again, please? What's that, Eddie?
I heard that
You
voice.
heard it.
You heard the sigh too?
No, I saw
What did you say?
like that.
Oh. Like an elderly man.
Yeah.
Are you an elderly gentleman? Could be one of the monks. Or one of the hermits. What was his name? Saruman or something?
The monk.
Yeah,
Can't recall it off the top of my head at the moment.
yeah.
He was a traitor.
The traitor.
He betrayed
That's right, yeah.
the order to William the Conqueror.
Are you the monk who was hung? Are you sorry you betrayed the other monks? What's that? Did you hear that?
I heard something.
You just went,
No. Did you hear that?
that was fantastic. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I won't say whether that was you or not.
No, that wasn't me. That was...
Nice.
Yeah.
It wasn't me, so carry on, Pat. You're getting a response.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think it's a man that's here with us here. Are you a male spirit? Can you come forward, please? Tell us your name.
That was Eddie.
Is that the wind outside?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have you come here in peace?
Can you try and draw through, please, so you can draw energy from any one of us to help be able for you to communicate? If you come in good heart and you have no malice towards us, we have no malice towards you. We just wondered if you would like to say something to us, to give us some indication about you as a person, your name, and what you did here. And if you never worked here, if you had no contact with the mill or with the order of Benedictines that used to be here, could you still speak to us, please? You see, I get the feeling of vagrants living here, people, when this mill was abandoned, the people hiding in here, hiding from the wind, from the rain and from the cold. Because this is a very, very exposed location. It's on the edge of nowhere. So please don't be shy. I'm seeing light energy above me now, which is good. That's good. It's a good indication.
There was another voice there.
Yeah, I heard that as well, but I heard it in the distance,
Yeah. So,
like a shout actually. Let's hope it's on the tape. I mean, the interesting thing about this building is the two uses that were applied to it as a medieval gatehouse and lastly as an 18th century windmill, and the two juxtaposed in this one location. It's just amazing. And even though we're standing in what is basically a tube, which is the remains of the tower, it's open at the top, it still feels very enclosed in here, like we're standing inside a room. I'm going to try and really open up now.
sorry?
I'm going to really open myself. Who are you, please? I've got an image now of a very frail, he is an elderly man.
I got the name Hubbard.
Well, let me describe what I'm seeing. He's got very broad cheeks, but a very thin face, and he's got two blue eyes which are slightly bulging. He's thin on top, grey. He's very skinny. He looks emaciated. He's wearing a shirt with an overjacket of some description, and he's wearing dark-coloured trousers. That's all I can say. But his face is weathered, it's worn. He has spent an entire life working with the elements. And he's got quite a bulbous nose. And I also have the impression that he enjoyed, like most people, he enjoyed a drink of alcohol. And I think he was associated with this as a windmill. I think he worked here. This is the man that I'm seeing. Very strange face. Unusual. Quite distinctive. Not at all unpleasant.
High cheekbones, smiling.
High cheekbones, slightly bulbous nose,
Yep.
bulging eyes.
That's what I'm getting.
But very skinny. And the impression that I'm getting is that his life here was very, very harsh. It was hard. It was very difficult.
I take it there's a train nearby. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's a train
That was a train.
across the marsh. And that's all he's revealing to me. I haven't got a name.
I got the name Hubbard.
Well, hang on a minute. It just, as I said, I haven't got a name. Something flowed across my mind very quickly. Abraham.
Abraham Hubbard?
Possibly. I honestly don't know. It just feels like it's all dissolved. It's just floated away. I propose now to end the session now with the night cam and then move on to the ghost box. And I'm hoping, if this man is Abraham, or Hubbard, isn't it, that he will communicate with us. But and again, whoever was speaking to us, I'm sure it was him. But yeah, it's been quite interesting. And of course, as always, until I've actually reviewed a video, we won't know if any EVP has been captured on camera. But I would be certainly intrigued to find out. Okay, we'll conclude this short session.
Did you enjoy working here? Is Hubbard here? I believe Chris picked up on the name Abrahams. Are you here? Yes. That was a scream as well. Did you hear the scream?
I heard a screech.
Yeah.
Hello, Abraham. Is your second name Hubbard? Did you know a Hubbard?
I think someone said Hubbard.
Who did you say? I thought you said Hubbard.
He said Hubbard after you said that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I heard Hubbard.
Yeah, I heard Hubbard. I heard when you said it, and then you went Hubbard.
Nice.
Yeah.
Can you take over and get back to your charm?
Oh.
You stand over with Ed. Oh, in fact, why don't you have a few words, Pat? If you stand...
Can you tell me my name, please? Can you say my name? Are there any ladies here? Or children? One.
One.
Oh, there's one lady or one child? Did you live here at the Abbey? Are there any monks here? Are any of Eddie's relatives here? Did someone say something then?
I suppose this, but I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
What would you like to tell me? I think that's the word Hubbard again.
Hubbard. Who's Mr. Hubbard? Are you the elderly gentleman who we heard earlier?
Sure, her, yes.
Yeah, there was a yes then. Can you come forward? The older man that was here earlier. Help. Did you say help?
Help.
Was it help?
Yeah, ask why.
Oh, he wants help. Do you want us to help you? How can we help you? Can you tell us how we can help you? Are you still here now? Have you got a message for Eddie?
What is it you want to tell me? What would you like to ask me? What would you like to tell me?
Eddie would like to receive the message from you. Can you tell us, please?
Why, you know.
Why?
He knows.
Why he knows, you know what the message is.
Yeah, why?
Do you feel I'm getting a little bit too close to spirit? Don't know what that said. Do you feel as though I'm getting a little bit compared to now, a little bit too much to do near to spirit?
The more you use this spirit box, the more you sort of tune in with them, don't you? And that's why you're getting so many messages.
I'm afraid I don't know. But what would you like to tell me?
Have you got any messages for me or Chris? Can you say our names?
Eddie Steady.
Is that what you just said? Eddie
So-
Steady.
I think so. It's either Eddie Steady or Ready Steady.
Do you like us being here?
So many gates.
What's that?
Something clicked.
Where'd something click off?
Over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you want to hold?
Yeah.
You stand over here, Pat.
That's your camcorder. I think.
Oh, sorry, Eddie. Oh, it's just all right then. Do you want to ask Chris? 'Cause we
I'll
haven't had a
have a
go.
little chat.
You haven't had a chat with them.
Just make sure.
I think there is some answers on there, or some replies.
Okay, my name is Chris. I'm the last one of the group to speak to you. Clearly I can hear somebody is trying to get across to communicate with us. We have a device here on the table which is a row of lights. If you can hear us, if you're having problems communicating verbally, could you make these lights flash, please? I heard Eddie.
Ed.
Somebody
calling
keeps
you.
calling Ed. Is it Eddie Mallett that you want to speak to?
I heard that, clear.
Could somebody tell me something about this windmill? Anybody who's prepared who worked here? Could I speak to one of the millers, please?
What?
Could I speak to one of the millers, please? Be aware of that light, Eddie, it creates a shadow, so you just got to be careful. My name is Chris. I come here in love, light and peace. I mean you no offence, no disrespect. All I'm trying to do is make a measured level of contact with you. I don't mean you any offence. Is there anybody here who wishes to say something?
Have a good week.
Have a good week.
Have a good week. Have a good week.
Yeah, they said have a good week.
Could I hear something from somebody here, please? Do you want us to go? The problem with the ghost box sessions is sometimes they come across very, very quickly and we get lots of positives that zap through. Other times it takes a while to draw it through. And I feel that in this session this is what's probably happening now. So hopefully somebody's going to speak to us again. People were mentioning Ed. Are we talking about Eddie Mallett? You've also got Patricia here, and you've got me, who's Christopher.
Let me be done.
It seems to be getting warmer in here now, do you think?
What then?
When it was a bit colder earlier, now it seems to be getting warmer.
There's another knock there.
There's a knock.
Yeah, quite loud. Let's have a quick look, see if there's somebody coming.
No torches there now, is there?
Come in anyway.
I want to hear this message they've got for you.
Andy, and they're not coming forth with it, sadly.
Is there anybody here who wishes to speak to Eddie from his family? Could you speak now, please? If you want to speak to Eddie, can you say hello, Eddie?
We've come a long way just to speak to you.
Ed!
Ed, you do keep saying it.
Eddie, they want to speak to you.
So, what do you want to tell me?
You just love calling your name out.
Yeah, you keep calling my name out, but you're not telling me what you want, what you'd like to ask me or tell me.
See, the voices, it's down quiet, but the voices that want to communicate come across quite loud and clear.
Yeah, they do, yeah.
And they're the ones we're aiming for, really. Go through all the names we had last time. John, Mervyn, Melvin.
Is John here?
Wait.
Is there anybody here who know Frank?
There's Burgess. What are the names we called out? Oh, was that last week, the other week?
I think
there?
Burgess was from another, from that area.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
And Burgess is also a rank of a job.
Oh, is it?
There must be someone in Eddie's family here who are desperate to speak to him, and you call out his name and say Ed, but you don't follow it through with a question or statement. And I think it's unfair to Eddie, because Eddie is genuine in the sense that he wishes to make contact with you, but you just keep saying his first name. I think you're being unfair. Could you speak to Eddie and tell him what you want, please?
Is Steve there? Steve, are you there?
Eddie's family, please say something to Eddie, because he's frantic. I mean, all you're doing is teasing him.
There's another knock there, quite loud. And yeah, there's no wood.
Oh, is it like a knocking sound?
Yeah.
Well, there would have been a door there, wouldn't there?
There would have been.
I can't say I heard that.
Yeah.
Are there any good people here in spirit who can help us here, please? Is anyone in spirit who can really help us with this?
I would say just leave it. If they want to get in contact and say something, they will. So we'll just leave it on that one and see if we can get anything from any of the other.
The other spirits?
Yeah, from the other spirits here.
Any of the monks? Any priests? Just keep thinking I'm hearing Eddie all the time now. I can't unhear Eddie's voice.
You will be dreaming of Eddie.
Are there any good Christian folk here tonight? Could we speak to the miller, please? The miller of this windmill. I know you're here. You're the guardian of this building.
Oh, what did he say?
Lewis.
Bert.
What did he say?
You heard Bert, I heard Lewis.
Someone's talking now.
Yeah. Can you give me a message, please? Are you all Eddie's fans out there in the spirit world? They're fans of yours. Ed!
Some of you know me, do you? Do you know me from other investigations? You know you're a ghost hunter when all the ghosts knows your name.
They all know Eddie.
Yeah.
Okay, I was talking to the miller a short while ago, and he tried to come through and say something, so could you try again, please, sir? Why did this windmill foul? Why was it closed down?
That was advice.
Yeah, he's talking. Sorry, I couldn't quite catch what you were saying, sir. Why was the mill closed? What was the reason behind closing the windmill? Because I would have thought it would have been profitable here.
Why did you build the windmill in the Abbey? This is strange place though to have built it, isn't it?
No, well, not really. It's on a. They've got a stable platform from the gatehouse that was built here, because we're standing on marsh lane. So it saved them money in putting in foundations, and the fabric of the gatehouse is helped support the windmill. So I can see all the practical reasons. Is there anybody still connected with the Benedictine order that used to worship here? Can I speak to one of the brothers, please? Does anyone believe in God here? And yes, I would still like to know why the windmill failed.
Yeah.
So could you tell me then, please? Do you notice there's different voices? When I talk about the windmill, different voices come through.
Yeah.
I know you're listening, I know you can hear us, but obviously there might be a problem with you communicating directly to us. So I just wondered if you could use as much energy as you could, please. You can draw it from us, and if you could answer these questions, please. What is your name, sir? The miller. What is your name, please, sir? William. Oh, thank you, William. So could you, speaking again back to William, are you still here, William? Are you still here, sir? Yes.
Yeah.
William, you
get
seem a
through.
little bit reluctant to speak, and I don't want to offend you, I really don't, but I just wondered if you would like to speak to us. This is a divide between our world and yours, and you can reach across this divide by speaking to us through this device. Were you here, William, when the windmill was built? Were you the builder of this windmill? Were you the builder, William? Or did you just work here, or did you own the mill? Or both? Could you tell us what you used to mill here, please?
Get out.
Yeah, I thought that was something. Who's asking us to leave? What is your name, sir? Could you please explain yourself? Is there nobody here who wishes to speak to us? You obviously want us to leave now, so you've had enough, so we're going to pack up and go. And I can say from me that thank you very much for allowing us to be here. And just lastly, is there anybody from Eddie's family, his relatives, or people that know him in spirit who would like to say something very quickly to Eddie before we go?
No.
No.
That was a blunt no.
Yeah, no.
I've now got at least another 3 or 4 hours driving to get back to where I live in Essex, so it probably won't be until the wee hours, as they say. But I thank you very much for joining us. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and especially in the company of 2 great friends. So on that note, I will say to you all, God bless and good night from us here at St Benet's Abbey in Norfolk. Thank you.